Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Friday forecast from the LFC Daytrippers. Your preview to the weekend's Premier League football. Who have I got with me? Well, I've got Anthony Pyne with me. Anthony is becoming a regular on this and speaks really well about football, so I'm looking forward to what he thinks of what looks like a cracking weekend of football. And I have got Joe Wayman. You may know Joe. He's a Leeds fan. And about 7 minutes ago, Leeds finished the job of dispatching Aston Villa at Villa Park with 3-0. And he's extremely, extremely happy. He's giddy. He's more giddy than he usually is, which takes some going. But lads, we're going to get through as much of the weekend's football as possible. The way this show works for anybody that may be watching for the first time is we go through 3 or 4 games in a decent amount of detail. Liverpool, of course, will be one of those that we've probably be the most detail about. We look at the bigger fixtures from the weekend. There's some that people don't really want to talk about, so we get predictions on that. I'm going to get the lads to pick 3 scorers that they feel will score any time this weekend. Patrick Bamford's off the list because he's gone and got 2 tonight. And before we went live,
3.
He got 3.
Yeah, hat trick, man, hat trick.
Did he get 3?
Bamford. Oh. Yeah, hat trick.
What score did they finish?
3-0.
Oh, I thought so. I must have read. I must have read who the assistant was. You know, assist. I must have read the assist rather than the scorer. So I think I had Kilch, didn't I, in me fancy football. So I thought maybe he got one. But look, we're going to go through all this. Just a quick note. I done an interview with James Pearce last night. James Pearce, formerly of the Echo, now of the Athletic. Really enjoyable. About 40 minutes long. It's on our YouTube channel there if you want to go and watch it. It was all part of the new book from the Athletic, At the End of the Storm. Now, James gave me an answer to his favourite goal from 2019-20, and I asked lads to comment in there what they felt it might be, or feel it might be, and there was one winner who guessed it right. It was William McClusker, and I'm going to try get him sorted with a book, but I've 2 left to give away because everyone else got it wrong. What I did do was there was 5 people that literally got James's second choice correct. So what I done was I put those 5 in no particular order, and I'm going to get one of the lads to pick it out for me in a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to give another one of them books away during the show. Okay, so Joe, we have to start with you. Aston Villa 0. Aston Villa, of course, the best team in the world, according to some. Leeds United 3. A Patrick Bamford hat-trick, to my surprise. How good were Leeds, Joe? How good were Leeds?
Yeah, just fantastic again, man. Like, I think what frustrated me before the game is we played Wolves, we huffed and puffed, didn't really carve anything out. Wolves get a lucky goal, and there's the whole narrative that Leeds United just run about, they don't really create, they're just full of energy. And then, of course, the narrative, Villa 1-4, Champions League, all this guff coming out. And we've gone to Villa Park and absolutely schooled them. Jack Grealish, he had one cleared off the line, but didn't really get a sniff. You stopped Jack Grealish, you stopped Villa for me. There was a little bit of argy-bargy between Tyrone Mings and Paddy Bamford just before he scored. And to see him go on and honestly, the two of the goals, the second and the third, are absolute pearlers. Top bins, both of them. Just scored them. And the mad thing is, like, we're pushing for a fourth when there's 94 minutes on the clock. We've got 6 players in their box to their 3. They're just done. They're just beat. And it's just amazing to see when it clicks. It really clicks for Leeds United, man. And I've said all season, like I said at the start, we'll bloody some noses. And I just think Villa were getting a little bit above the stations. You said yourself, like the whole narrative, we're the best thing since sliced bread. And let's not forget, Calvin was out, massive loss. We've lost our captain at centre-back. Our second, our replacement in Diego Llorente is also injured. So we had to move Luke Ayling into centre-back. Dallas has gone from left-back to right-back. We've got Alioski playing at left-back. Pascal Struijk, who's, played in that position in the Championship, picks up a yellow early doors from a dive from Grealish. You shouldn't be surprised, but he dived. He then gets took off after 21 minutes, and we have to bring on a youth in Jamie Shackleton. So, lots of moving parts against a full-strength Villa side on their own patch. And we've scored them and beat them 3-0, man. And Bielsa's gone, and Bandor Bamford is he's going to win the Golden Boot.
Well, of course, us being from Ireland, the rumour is that Patrick Bamford will declare for Ireland. And if Ireland need anything at the moment, it's a fella that can kick the ball in the, white rectangular thing. Because that's Ireland just don't score goals. If you work for a newspaper, you can put Ireland 0 at the start of your report very early on in the day, probably 24 hours in advance of any match they play, and then just guess the opposition score. Anthony, before Joe joined us, we were talking about this game, and neither of us have seen it because we were walking away beforehand. But when I said to you 3-0, you just turned and went, "Yeah, well, they're a better team than Aston Villa. They're just a better team." I think Joe's made a good point as well, though. You stop Grealish, you stop Aston Villa, and I'm talking about this as a Liverpool fan that watched Villa beat Liverpool 7-2 3 weeks ago. And as I said, they were hitting stuff, it was deflecting going in. Our goalkeeper was having a mare. It was one of those days. But they're just a better side than Aston Villa, or Anthony, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so, Gav. You're trying to explain away the Aston Villa victory over Liverpool. And when something like that happens, it was such a freakish result, such a freakish game. So people are trying to explain it. And it's very easy to slip into the narrative that followed, which was that tactical master class by Villa. They'd done their homework. They'd found chinks in Liverpool's armour. And, in fairness, understandably, I think Smith kind of played up to that bit. But you can't blame them. They just beat Liverpool 7-2. Fair dues to them. It's not being bitter about it because they deserved it. Everything went from on the night, but they deserved it. But I think time will look back on that performance by Liverpool. I said to you, Gab, before we started the show that I don't think you'll see pound for pound a worse performance from a Premier League team than Liverpool at Villa Park that night. When you consider the quality that Liverpool have, they were just abysmally bad, unbelievably bad. And it was much more down to Liverpool's deficiencies than what Aston Villa actually did. Although Villa do have good players, and I like Grealish a lot. I think he's a really good footballer. But for me, Leeds are just a much better side, a much better balanced side, a better coach side. I thought they were very good at Anfield, but the game against Manchester City was the one for me that made you think, well, these are a serious team. These are a serious team, because Man City that night at Elland Road did what they do a lot. They blitzed teams in the first 20 minutes, absolutely storm out of the traps, dominate the ball, recycle, and they got their goal. And that is usually the cue for them to close out the match or to take the lead in the match a lot. And occasionally, you've seen occasional games over the last 2 or 3 years where they've been pegged back, but it happens really rarely. Generally, that's where they get their early goal and then they can just play the game on their own terms. But Leeds just didn't allow that to happen, and that was really impressive. The way they took the game to them in the second half. They're a very, very good side, and it's a crazy year I think ahead of us. Who knows how well they're going to do it? They're certainly not in any way going to be worried about going down or anything like that. I think they'll be absolutely fine. But it's such an odd year that there could be an opportunity for Leeds to sort of look up towards the top 8. They're going to bloody a lot of noses. And they're great to watch.
Their energy, Joe, you said something there about them and you went, people are just shouting, they're just energetic and they're just this and they're just that. Hard work wins a lot of football games. A lot of football games. When teams are beaten and beaten well, or usually when they're beaten well, the first thing the manager will come out and say, well, they worked harder than us. That they had more energy than us. They were forced to every ball. So people throwing stuff around that Leeds are only energetic. I'll take an energetic side any day of the week over a non-energetic side that seem to have all the ability in the world. You have to work, and hard work and energy can win you an awful lot of games. Joe, I want to ask you this though, and Stephen O'Connor says it, and you just said, we bloody a lot of noses and stuff. I think Leeds can look a bit higher than that, because I agree with what Anthony is saying. It's a strange league, and what makes me even think that is really simple stuff like Man City haven't got going yet. And if they win tomorrow, they'd be within a point at the top of the league. That kind of way. Or all things being equal, I think there's games in hand and stuff going on. But, you look at Sheffield United that were so good last year. They play Liverpool this weekend. They haven't got, I don't think they've 1 point, I think, have they? One point. You look at Everton, started really well, but they aren't in Liverpool's league. It's as simple as that. And you've seen it in the derby last week. Again, I thought Liverpool were way better than Everton. A lot of people there feeling Everton will fail. But Stephen O'Connor says, Leeds are safe in this league, no bother at all to them. Going to establish themselves as a top 6 club in the coming years. That has to be a realistic goal, Joe. It has to be.
I don't, yeah, look, I'm always going to say this, but Leeds United are a huge club. We have the right people in at the club right now as well, and with Bielsa at the helm. I mean, it was only the other day actually that he said he came out and said just because I sign a 1 year rolling contract doesn't mean I don't see myself being here a long time. He's only a couple of games shy of this being his longest stay at a football club. He's known for not sticking around for a long time, but I really think he's fell in love with the place. And if we've got Bielsa, anything is possible. Like anything is possible. He's that good. Like these individuals that are playing so well, Luke Ayling, for example, he was at Yeovil, he left Arsenal, he went to Yeovil, made his way up to Bristol City. We got him for about 100, Matthias Klick, 1.5 million we paid for him. And he's turned into he just doesn't look out of place, He's turned Calvin into an England international. He turned Water into wine, and we're now bringing in fully fledged internationals. Rodrigo tonight was unbelievable. Yeah, we brought in Rafinha. He came on there for the last 5 or 10 minutes, and he played a pass from the centre of the park and just took out the Villa backline. We should have scored from it, to be fair. But as we bring in better quality additions, it's just going to get better and better as well. And I genuinely feel that the sky's the limit. And you've said yourselves, this season's all over the shop. And when you look at some of the so-called big teams, with the coaches they've got in, there's going to be a lot of inconsistency throughout the season if they maintain with the managers they've got in. And I think there is a realistic opportunity that us, even a Villa, let's, I know we beat them tonight, and Everton, for example, that someone could break into that. Probably Everton maybe looking more so in the top 4, but I genuinely think there's a realistic possibility that Europe could happen. I mean, Wolves have done it for the last 2 seasons, coming up from the Championship. Sheffield United almost did it last season. So what's to say, based on what we've seen so far, that you wouldn't look at Leeds and think, nah, they've got no chance, would you? We've like your man said, the way we played against City, Hughes, and then we're also doing it against teams that we should be beating. We put Sheffield United away, Fulham away. And to be fair, Jimenez for Wolves, they scored a deflected goal. It should have been a 0-0. It would have been a fair result. And then we've just absolutely schooled Villa. And we've got Leicester and Palace up next. And I look at them and think we can get maximum points from them as well. So, the sky's the limit, man. The sky's the limit.
Tom Boland said Leeds have one of the top coaches in world football, and he's been working with most of that squad for a couple of seasons. It's a very good point. But something you touched on there, and I when you said it, I thought, whoa, a little bit of caution. When you said, when we bring in better quality and stuff like that, and that's always what you're looking for. But Leeds need to learn from where they were 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And what I mean by that is, don't throw everything you have at it. Don't throw. You work. They have a brilliant foundation because when everything goes back to normal, as normal as it can be, and they have a great stadium. It's a tough place to go. They have the infrastructure around the club. They have a brilliant coach. They've some brilliant players. And if you can just add 1 or 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, the only thing I wouldn't like to see Leeds do is. From a Leeds point of view, I'm not too bothered, to be perfectly honest with you, Joe. From a Leeds point of view, you don't want to see them, say for argument's sake, to get 8 and you miss out on a Europa League spot by 1 spot, right? And then throwing fucking mad money at it, and it goes wrong. And then when it goes wrong, it's so hard to recover from. It's so hard because you have to get things right. If you don't get things right, you start losing managers, you start losing players, and you start losing league positions. And for Leeds, they have a great chance to take advantage of how strange this season is. And then from there, literally, instead of jumping 1 rung this season, they may jump 2 and then start from there. So, but it's a brilliant result tonight. It puts Villa back in their box. I'm delighted about that. No real time for them, to be perfectly honest. No real time for Leeds either, but I just like Leeds, what Leeds are doing more than Villa are doing. And Joe knows it. I don't have much time for Leeds, but I like talking about them. They impress me. Lads, let's move on. And Anthony, I'm going to come to you first. West Ham play host to Manchester City this weekend. And, West Ham, they can flatter to deceive. you never know what's going to happen with them. Let's be honest about it, you know. But they go into this one off the back of a really, really good win away. Do you remember at Leicester? A really good win away there, and you know, who did they play last weekend? West Ham.
Spurs.
West Ham. Yeah,
Spurs. Yeah,
and they were 3-0 down, and then Lanzini bashes one in the last minute. You go, really impressive 4 points. You know, Leicester away, Spurs away, you get 4 points out of that. It's really, really good. Now they go in level on points with Man City this weekend. City have got a game in hand, but what are you looking for this one? Hey, is this one where West Ham can show a bit more of their credentials, or is it one where City click into gear and go, listen, it's back to normality, City are just rising up that table, and that's just how it is?
It's both, I think. I think it's both. It could go either way. Like, I mean, City have got to be licking their lips at the minute when they look at Van Dijk is out now effectively for the season. But they're not without their own issues. And I think City are missing a couple tomorrow. I think is De Bruyne out, I think, you know, they have a couple of injuries themselves. West Ham have brought in Barama, who I think is possibly available, I think, tomorrow, maybe. And coming off the back of that Spurs result, when, you know, it's funny, like, I watched the second half of that. I was kind of tuning in and out of that because I thought the game was long done. But when, whatever way Moyes changed it, when they actually started having a bit of go and playing in Spurs half, they look like a decent side. I'm a long-term fan of Antonio. I think he's really quite underrated. He's a real handful, you know, versatile, he's strong, he's powerful. And they're one of those teams that could do something. They could do something tomorrow. I think I've got a funny feeling for them to get a point off City. But City, you've got to be licking their lips there's such a chance for them to take control of the division now, because you were saying earlier, Gabby, nobody looks like they're going to do it. It's a bit crazy at the minute. We don't know how Liverpool are going to react to that. Like, so, like, they look to me like they're the only team, unless Liverpool defy all the odds at the minute, that could maybe go on a sort of 8, 9, 10, 11 game winning streak. Or maybe not. Because, you know, they haven't started usually convincing either. So I don't know. It's been such a funny start to the season, and it still doesn't feel like it's settled down. So I can't say with conviction how it's gonna go. I know I'm kind of sitting on the fence with it, but it's like, it feels to me like it could be, anything could happen tomorrow. West Ham could beat them, City could trounce them 6-0. I don't know, but I actually have a funny feeling that West Ham could potentially take something off them tomorrow.
Is it, Anthony, staying with you, is it a case of, and you hear this every season, it doesn't really level itself out till after 10 games, and that's not the truth. You know, after 5 games last season, 6 games last season, you knew it was Liverpool and City, and nobody else was going close or even anywhere near them. You know, Liverpool were 6 from 6. I think City were 1-5, lost 1, I think, after the 4-6 last season. And people will claim, you know, after 10 you get an idea. No, after 3 or 4 you can get a very, very good idea. Like, I'll put it this way, after 10 minutes I know West Brom are getting relegated this season, you know, and after 20 minutes of this season I'm nearly sure Fulham might go with them, you know, the kind of way. So it won't take 10 games to convince me of that. But is this a case of this season over, especially at the top end of the table, is it a case of you will actually have to wait till 10 games because of, you know, there's a couple of international breaks in there, there's no fans in the stadium, there's a lot of COVID stuff going around, you know, players getting it, and it's kind of been all over the place. You know, you had a transfer window that ran right up until the 16th of October, effectively. So is it a case, Anthony, that this season, actually, yes, you will have to probably wait till 10 or 12 games before everything starts to slot into place and you start looking at who's for the title, who's for top 4, and it starts to take a bit of shape?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things. And the other thing is that they're not coming in this year more than ever. They're not coming in a level playing field in terms of their pre-season. So I think some teams got the timing of their pre-season wrong. Like, I think Spurs got theirs wrong. I looked at Spurs in their first game against Everton, and they just looked way off. You know, I looked at it saying Mourinho was a dead man walking here. They were way off the pace. I think they just might have got the conditioning a little bit off, because now they're starting to look like a team. I know they brought in players as well since the last few weeks. So, like, I think all of those things you say, like COVID and international breaks, and the calendar is a little more condensed, the extended window. It's it's going to make for a more interesting league. I think. Like, I don't think we're probably due a campaign like this. You know, the last 3 years, it's been City ran away with it, then Liverpool and City ran away from everyone else and jostled to the end, and then Liverpool ran away with it. We're probably due a campaign where it's a bit more topsy-turvy. I know there was talk, like, after the way the last couple of years have gone, that people just thought it would just be this sort of domination year on year. I don't think that's the case. I think this is it will level, it will shake out. It comes in little cycles like this. And I think this year it could be, and I'm not saying there's going to be a total outsider of it, but if you remember when Leicester won it, Leicester won the league, like I don't know how many games they lost that season. I don't know off the top of my head.
They finished on 81 or 2 points.
Yeah, it was a low winning tally. I think this will be maybe not that low, but I think this will be a relatively low tally to win it.
I have Liverpool on to finish on 91.
On 91?
Yeah.
I think if Liverpool finish on 91, they're absolutely champions. I think
that's the plan.
Yeah. But yeah, look, that long way to answer your question. Yeah, I do. I think it's just a year like no other. You know, now it's a bit of a cliche to say it like that, but like it is, and all the reasons you listed there. And as I said, I really think the preseason, that staggered preseason, a lot of different teams. I think that's got a big impact. You know, that does genuinely have the athletes are so finely tuned that, you know, even a couple of weeks off or a week or so, and the difference of their programs can make a difference. And Spurs is the best reference I can use because they genuinely looked like Matt Doherty, for example, came in and looked, and he was called out for after the game by Mourinho. If you remember, he just looked way undercooked. He looked way off. But within 2 weeks, you know, he looks back to the Doherty that was playing with Wolves for the last 2 years. You know, so yeah, it'll be interesting over the next couple of months. I think a few more mad results might occur in the next 4 or 5 games.
I think mad results are going to happen all season. I think just the way I think teams genuinely get affected. They can get on a roll with regards to the no people in stadiums is massive. It's absolutely massive, and I've heard people say Liverpool are affected a lot more by this than anybody else. I don't really go with that. I think when you even out the talent you have against, you know, no people in stadiums, I think everyone suffers. Maybe some weeks more than others, but I think it's having a massive effect because I think they're playing with a bit more of a freedom. You know, if you're on a away side coming to Anfield, you're playing with a bit more of a freedom. You're not getting 55,000 down on top of you. You know, whereas there could be, like Everton, in my opinion, Everton are playing with more freedom at Goodison Park because there's no one in it. Because Everton fans are notorious for just getting on your back after 5 minutes and never letting go, you know, for the whole game. But we'll see how it goes. But lads, predictions for this one. I'm going to go first, 4-1 City. Joe, what's your prediction?
Yeah, 3-0 City. I think they'll run away with it. I don't think they've not won it at the West Ham ground, you know, the new ground they're in. So City win, 3-0.
Okay. Anthony, are you going to go with a draw or West Ham, or what are you doing?
I am, yeah. I'll stick my neck out. I'm going to say 2-2.
Okay, nice one. I like that. And I'll take that all day. I take Anthony's prediction over mine, to be honest with you. But I just feel like City will have too much of them. I think City will click into some sort of gear now. Having said that, I don't think they won 5 games in a row all season last season, so they'll have to improve on that if they want to get anywhere near winning the title, I suppose, or getting close to it. Fulham versus Palace, I'm not too interested in. Just a quick prediction on that. Joe first.
2-0 Palace.
2-0 away win for Palace. Anthony.
Yeah, I was going to say 2-0 Palace. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw on that one. Fulham have to show up at some stage. Seriously, they have to, or else just pack it in. 5:30 on Saturday is United versus Chelsea. Now United went away to PSG and 1-2-1 during the week, and fair play to them. And I watched a bit of it. I thought both sides were poor. But given the United 11 that went out there, I think it was a very, very, very good result for them, especially in that group where people have written them off a little bit. And I think I did say I think they do all right in that group, because the counter-attacking style suits them, and if they're a bit of an underdog, I think it suits them in that group. But you look at Chelsea, and Joe, I'm going to come to you because it's your favourite subject in football. It's Chelsea and Frank Lampard, and you know they're 3-0 up against Southampton, and what are you 3-0 up against Southampton? Maybe 2-0, 2-1, 2-all. It kind of topsy-turvy, but they get a draw at home to Southampton in the end, and I'd say you were delighted with that. But Joe, I know you don't like Frank Lampard, and I know you think he's hindering Chelsea as a football club, but overall, do you feel like somebody's going to get a hiding here at some stage? Because that's the feeling I get from Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, they will do at some stage. Yeah, definitely. Whether or not it'll be the weekend, I'm not sure. I couldn't dislike two more teams than Man United and Chelsea, if I'm being totally honest. You know, so, but yeah, they will do at some point. You know, they did that last season as well. But it's conceding goals. You know, regardless of, you know, there's a lot of onus on. Oh, it's the individuals that are in the side, and I heard something earlier on where, if against Southampton, is it Kepa and what's his face at the back make the error, don't they? Was it Kepa? Yeah, it was Kepa, wasn't it?
Oh, Kepa was in goal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they make the error, and they go win that game if not, and it's all to do with that. But I don't buy into that. I just think Lampard's, from a defensive standpoint, he's just a little bit inept, if you ask me. Do you know what I mean? It's very much going forward. They're brilliant. And it will work, you know, against certain teams. But and some will get hiding. But I just think over the course of the season, they'll just continue to concede goals. Last season, you know, they were up there. I think they conceded the same amount as Brighton. You know, he's won, I think. Has he conceded a goal in 22 of like 23 away games or something like that as well? He just can't seem to keep a clean sheet. And if you want to do well and ultimately go for titles, because I don't buy into this top four, really, for the money they've spent, they should be going for titles, you know. So, yeah, in answer to your question, yes, some people will get a hiding, don't get me wrong, but it over the course of the season, it'll level itself out, and I just think they'll continue to concede daft goals with him in charge.
Anthony, when I look at the league table in front of me here, they've played 5, won 2, drawn 2, lost 1. That one was to Liverpool. It's still early days. They've 8 points. You know, they're I don't know, 5 points off the lead or whatever else. And then you look at United, and United have a game in hand. Obviously, they've only played 4, and they sit with played 4, 1, 2. Haven't drawn, lost 2, scored 9, conceded 12. Now 6 of those 12 were against Spurs, weren't they? Was about 6. I think they lost about 6-1 to Spurs. I can't remember. But Anthony, when you look at these two sides, you know, Solskjaer's there a little while now. He's getting his way with regards to transfers. There's a lot of excuses made for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because of around the Sancho situation. But at the end of the day, when you look at the players he has there, he's signed a fair few of them now. They're playing his way. And if he hasn't signed them and he's still playing them, that's on him as well. You know, you can't just say he's being left with them. But they're still in a transition for me because they haven't done things great, to be honest. And then you look at Chelsea, who've just gone from one extreme to the other. You know, we're all about youth, and now we're spending 200 million. Who's further ahead in the development here? Has the mad money Chelsea have spent catapulted them above United, or the fact that United are a bit slow and steady but may get there in the end? Who's more ahead in this game, I suppose, Anthony? Because you can't just put it down to managers, because I think the two of them are brutal.
Oh, it's a great question. You know, I think they're very similar in terms of the problems that they have, because from midfield up, they're both very, very good. Very good. The problem they have, and I think the reason that they keep dropping silly points, is that there's a way to play against them. There's an obvious way to set up against them. And that is the way that the so-called, say, the smaller clubs tend to set up against them. So Crystal Palace were a case in point and did it very, very well at Old Trafford and at the start of the season, where they played with a very low block and they just kept springing their own counter-attackers. Basically, Palace did to United what United did to PSG and what United like to do to the bigger teams themselves. So they have their flaws that when teams do it to them, they struggle with it, and it also, because they need to go further up the pitch to try and break them down, it leaves their defensively, it leaves them exposed, and they have problems defensively. And I think Chelsea are very similar to that. Where, as regards to who's further down the road, it's hard to answer, because I think they're both from the Achilles heel that the two of them have is the managers. Like, I think Solskjaer has actually done he's actually done a pretty decent job. Although he certainly gets a lot of forgiveness from the fan base. There's a lot of affection to him there. And I think I think he gets a leeway that other managers wouldn't have got. But I say he's done a decent job because he's at least improved. Their signing rate is better. He's brought in some good players. Like Fernandes is obviously a very good player. And, time will tell with the business they've done this summer. But long term, in terms of like those two clubs want to go back and win the Premier League or be challenging for the Premier League, they don't have the managers. Neither of them are capable of doing it long term. And the fact that they have such an obvious flaw is proof of that. Like they're building it the wrong way around. We've seen it with Liverpool for years. We're like, we're one sign away from, for years that went on. And I think it's just a structural thing. And there's you made the point there, Gav, yourself. It's 12 months ago, Chelsea were all about youth, and it's good English youth, good English talent, and that's completely gone out the window. So there's no actual clear philosophy. Man United look the same. There's no joined up thinking in the way that, say, Liverpool are the best example of it, where everything just clicks and works, and there's a very clear plan, and everyone's on the same wavelength. And I think Leeds are another good example of it. It's not happening behind the scenes at either of those clubs. So, as I said, I think they both have similar issues and similar problems. I suppose the best way to look at it is if you brought, let's say, Guardiola or Klopp was to take over, either of the group of players tomorrow, who do you think would take off quicker? I probably think United. Actually, I think United have so much ability in from the midfield up that I think a good coach could organise them better, and you see flashes of it. I agree with you. I watched the PSG game. I thought PSG were terrible. I thought PSG were awful. They just walked into United's hands. But fair play to United. They've done that quite often in Solskjaer's tenure already, where they blow really hot or really cold, but when it does click, they can look like a serious outfit. So I do think there's potential there, but I've been saying for a while that they don't have the manager to get them up. They'll keep just doing what they've been doing for the last year. Hot, cold, run of wins, couple of bad City losses. And Chelsea are probably the same.
Yeah, do you know something? I think you're saying Solskjaer's done an okay job. I'd go with that. I think the protection he gets is from former teammates in the media. And the one, because there's former teammates, and there's like this unwritten rule around Manchester United that you just can't, as a former player, say anything bad about your mates. You know what I mean? Let's be honest about it. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager of Liverpool and they were going on like this, Gary Neville would be all over him. Absolutely all over him if there was no ties to Manchester United. The other thing going for them is that they hate the owners, and they're taking all the flack when it comes to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the side, and the owners. They just have a go at the owners. Forget all the money they spend. Just keep going at them. With Lampard, he's just out of his depth. It's as simple as that. He was brought in because they had a transfer embargo, and he done okay, and now it's lifted. But I'm very surprised. I was surprised that if Abramovich couldn't get someone, he just would have went, sorry, Frank, good luck. You know what I mean? Simple as that, good luck. But there's an argument there to say that one of these two could come out of the pack and have a go, because we're talking about the likes of Leeds maybe breaking into Europe, Everton having a go at top four. I seen an Everton fan in there earlier. I have to give him a shout because in fairness to him, he showed up and he said it's AJ and his dad. He said Everton the only side to remain unbeaten. There you go, on the screen, on the Liverpool podcast. Yes, they are, and fair play to them, and deservedly so far, apart from last week when we should have beat us. But listen, we won't go back over that. But there's an argument there about certain teams breaking up the, top four or Europa League, whatever it might be. There's an argument. You could easily make that argument that, listen, all right, there is flaws, but you never know what could happen if they get on a roll and the other teams around them are being more affected by no one in the ground and stuff like that. You just never know. So we'll have to wait and see. Lads, prediction on this one. Anthony first.
Oh, I think United will beat them 3-1.
Joe?
I'll just go 0-0. I'll go 0-0.
I think United beat them 2-0. I'm being honest with you. No. There's no Chelsea score. I'll go United 2-1. I'll go United 2-1. Liverpool game is the late one on Saturday, but I'm going to leave that a little bit later if that's okay. The next one up I want to talk about is, I've just forgotten them all. That's the issue. The 2 games on Monday I want to go to. Quick predictions on these as well, because Brighton went against West Brom. I just can't bring myself to talk about West Brom, Joe. I'm being honest with you. Joe, Brighton v West Brom, give us a result.
2-1 Brighton.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, I fancy Brighton. I'll say 2-0 Brighton.
Okay, I'm going to go for 3-1 Brighton as well. I think West Brom are screwed. Burnley against Spurs is the other game on Monday. Anthony, I'll go with you first.
I actually think 1-0. I think Burnley will dig out an ugly 1-0.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs. Joe?
I was going to 1-0 Burnley. I think they could, shit house it maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I hope Spurs. You see, I'm torn on this because I'm taking a real interest in fantasy football, and I have Son and Kane in my team, and they're doing great for me. They're keeping me afloat. I'm being honest with you, but we'll have to wait and see. Wolves against Newcastle. Quick prediction on that one as well. Joe, go with you first.
1-0 Wolves.
Okay. I'm gonna go 2-1 Wolves. Anthony.
2-1 Wolves.
Yeah, same for you. And I'm going to talk about these two. So Southampton against Everton. And sorry, Joe. I was talking about the book earlier, and five people got James Pearce's second favourite goal of the season correct. So I've written them down here. I've put random numbers beside them. So just give me a number between 1 and 5, Joe.
5.
Number 5 is Aiden91. Aiden91 is the man that wins the second copy of that book, all right? Aiden, I don't know if you're watching at the moment, but listen, if you are, great. If you're not, we'll try getting some sort of contact with you. I know you commented on last night, so I can put a comment in there and get hold of you. So he's won the second, but I have one more copy to give away. I'm just trying to think in my head how I'm going to do it in the next 20 minutes. But Southampton against Everton, and Joe, sticking with you, want to talk to you a little bit about Everton, because as AJ and his dad just said there a minute ago, they're the only team that remain unbeaten. They've started quite well. They've started very well, let's be honest about it. What do you see from Everton this season? And can this be kept up? And is Southampton a tricky one to go to? Because I just get the feeling Southampton are poor at home for some reason or the other.
I think at the minute Everton are flying, aren't they? They are. I did, like you say. I know that last week. I mean, I had Manny first goal, Liverpool 3-1, and I was convinced it was going to happen, man. But obviously, DCL scored. But I think Everton look really good, and based on the early stage of the season, I think they'll maintain it. I know a lot of people will say they'll drop off, but I suppose for me as well, it depends on injuries. You know, if they were to get an injury to an Alan or James Rodriguez or Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then what happens? Obviously, are they without Richarlison as well this weekend? There will be, won't there?
Will be, yeah. 3-game ban, yeah.
Which is a big loss. I'm not too convinced on Southampton. If I'm honest, I can't see past an Everton win, and I like what they're doing, man. I don't mind Everton. I think they're a good football club, man. They are. I know that a lot of people won't like me saying that on this, but you know, I have respect. I have respect for Everton, and I think they're doing bits, man. They've got a great coach, haven't they? And the business has been unbelievable, and I guess come January they could go again. Do you know what I mean? They've got cash there. They brought in the keeper from Roma, didn't they? I don't know. I know he's been on the bench. I don't know much of him. Is he expected to start? Will we see him in goal ahead of Pickford?
No, I think he's being brought in to kind of challenge Pickford, because Pickford hasn't had a challenge since he's been there. Let's be honest.
No.
I think he's there to challenge him. I think he's the Swedish #1 goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's very old, isn't he?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I think he's just there to be more of a challenge and give Pickford a bit of a kick up the arse that he might need, you know. But we'll have to wait and see. James Rodriguez is an interesting one. Ancelotti said during the week that James Rodriguez wouldn't play, and then I took him out on my fancy football team because of it. And then he comes out today and says he may play tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Anthony, Southampton, a bit all over the place to start. You know, mad results here and there, but they get a good result away at Chelsea. Do they need to keep Danny Ings fit for this season to do anything? Because I have a little feeling if they don't, I think they could struggle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's what separates. There's that cluster of teams down there. It separates any team, but having a goal scorer is just absolutely massive. And he's the difference between them getting sucked into a dogfight and being, you know, relatively comfortable in around mid-table. So, yeah, he is crucial to them. They've kind of settled down the last 2 or 3 games. I think they've got a couple of draws and a win. Great result last week. But I like the coach. I really like Hasenhüttl. I think he's done a good, solid, steady job there. A bit up and down at times, but generally, you know, he's got them playing some nice football. And I think they will take points off Everton tomorrow. I'm going to go for a draw tomorrow, but I do think Everton are on their way. They're going to have the best season they've had for a good number of years because, you know, look, at the end of the day, they have Carlo Ancelotti. They have money. You know, they haven't been shy of spending money for the last few years, but now they've given the money to a genuinely top-class manager who has clout, who can bring in an Allen, a James Rodriguez, the Corey. Like, they bought well, I think, for the first time in a few years. And this year, it's a good point, Gav, to say that having no fans seems to have suited them, particularly at Goodison, because Goodison, when it's got its tail up, you know, it's a pretty fierce atmosphere, to be fair, but they turn on their players and they inhibit their own players when things aren't going the wrong way. I mean, the Derby game, I know it was at Anfield, but the Derby game last season in the FA Cup, when Liverpool had a team of kids out and Everton were expected to win that game, like they were favourites, which is a rare thing for them in a Merseyside derby, and they completely crumbled. They couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it. And as the game went on and they started to see that, geez, we're going to actually, you could see them, the fear, they froze. Like, they started well and then they froze as the game progressed. And the backlash to that, it kind of felt like a watershed moment for them, because I think Ancelotti he'd seen enough at that point, and they've opened up the checkbook and brought in some very good players. So, as I said, I fancy Southampton to take something off tomorrow, but I think Everton have every chance of pushing into that top 6. Agree with Joe, though, that, you know, they need a bit of fortune with injuries, but removing all the other stuff that happened in the derby, the obvious stuff, Van Dijk and THIAGO, it was a very good game of football. It was a good game of football between two good teams, and I thought they showed some good stuff. I thought we showed some great stuff, and they look like a decent team. They really do.
Yeah, I'd be worried about their depth. I really would, because if they lose 1 or 2 players, they're going to have to start relying on players they were using a hell of a lot last season, and they just weren't good enough. And, you know, you can say, well, if they lose 1 or 2 and they bring them lads in, they're playing around better quality, they're just not good enough. You know, it doesn't matter how good a quality you're playing against. If you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And I think that's where it may end up being a problem for them. But listen, don't get me wrong, they could get to January and they're in a sniff for the top 4 or better. We don't know. And they could turn around and go, listen, we need to strengthen a bit more. We need to bring our summer plans forward 6 months to really capitalise on this. Aiden91, who won the book, is delighted. He says, lovely, Gav. Aiden, if you have a Twitter handle, can you throw it into the comments for me, and I can contact you that way to get your address. If not, you can drop your email address here, but I wouldn't do that. People start annoying you, but we'll walk away out with doing that. Give us a prediction on this, lads. I'm going to go first. I think Everton win again. I think the heat on Pickford this week. Ancelotti's made a bit of a fool of himself over James Rodriguez and the injury, but he doesn't care. Richarlison is missing, but I'm gonna go 2-1 Everton. I really am. I'm gonna go 2-1 Everton. Joe, for you?
Yeah, same scoreline, mate. For me, I think Everton will win again. Flying.
2-1. Okay. Slackline Egypt says, hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. Show some love. Lads, if you're watching and you like it, hit the like button. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, subscribe, share, like, all that sort of messing. Completely up to you, but if you can, it'd be absolutely brilliant. Stephen Mack is offering odds of 3-1 on Everton to win tomorrow. They're huge odds. Absolutely huge odds. Anthony, what are you going with?
I think it'll be a 2-2 draw.
Do you? Okay. I just have a little bit of David Moyes is in the group. David Moyes reckons it's 4-0 to Southampton. Ancelotti is washed up. Yeah, he says he's washed up. And an earlier comment from David Moyes, our favourite manager who's always in the chat, he says Ancelotti will lose the dressing room soon. So there you go. You've heard it from the horse's mouth. 100 likes, apparently, says Dylan Westwood. Well, look, that's how it goes. Just hit it. Do all that stuff that we tell you to do if you can. And that's how it goes. Arsenal play host to Leicester. Arsenal got a win in the Europa League during the week. Coming from behind, I think. Partey looked the part, if that's okay to say. According to some Arsenal fans I was speaking to. Not that I watched the fucking Europa League, you're mad. But I believe he was good when he was playing. So this one is an interesting one because Leicester started off like a house on fire. They got beaten by West Ham convincingly at home. Who did they play last week, lads? Who did Leicester play? Come on.
They got beat by Villa 1-0.
There you go. They got beaten at home by Villa. So the bubble has burst a little bit for Leicester. Arsenal, I presume they're just claiming that 1-0 defeat last week is progress, and it probably is against Manchester City. So, looking at this one, Anthony, Leicester need to stop a little bit of a rot, and as I predicted, and I still think it'll happen, I think Brendan Rodgers comes under pressure for his job if this continues. I'm going to put it out there. Arsenal are progressing, but I think you need to see a little bit more from them, Anthony. Just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I can't say another draw for this game, but I Arsenal are progressing, and I suppose it feels a little bit defeatist or small time to say, a 1-0 loss to City is progress, or even the loss to Liverpool at Anfield. I think some of their fans might have said that was progress just because of previous games they've had, like where we've absolutely smashed them, although I thought Liverpool outclassed Arsenal that night, to be honest. But it is progress. Yeah, this is where they're coming from. That we talked about Solskjaer earlier on, and Lampard, where their teams kind of look a little bit unbalanced. Arteta's team is starting to look very, very well balanced.
David Moyes feels that Arteta is just ripping off all his tactics.
But it feels like he's building him in.
And in fairness, he did say he brought him to England, so yeah, that's fair as well. Sorry, Anthony.
It feels like he's building him in the right way, is what I was trying to say. I think he's been very canny about how he's the job he's done with them so far. They've got quality at the right end of the pitch. They look a lot more solid, and they look a little tougher as well. They were, they had a soft underbelly for such a long time, but they're starting to look a little bit better organised defensively. And Leicester they just have a little bit of the touch of the Rodgers flakiness about them.
Stainless for me.
Yeah, on their day, I mean, when everything flows and everything clicks, but they can look flat. And I fancy Arsenal to push for the top 4 this season, because I think they look really good, and I think they'll get better. That's the thing about them. And Partey is that's a great signing for them. That is a big signing for them.
It is a brilliant signing for them, and I think Leicester look a bit stale. I'm being honest with you. I think the players that have been there the longest for them look a little bit stale to me. I think Vardy's missed the last couple of games through injury, though. I don't know if he's available this weekend. You'd hope, for Leicester's sake, he is. But they go away to Arsenal, and you look at the way they went away to City. Now, City will try to tell you that Leicester were lucky that day. Leicester weren't. Leicester picked them a fucking part at will, to be quite honest with you. After the first 40 minutes of being dominated, Leicester just picked City apart. Seeing the avenues to go for and went for them and killed them. But when you watch them at home to West Ham, then they were very poor. I didn't see them at home to Villa last week, but, you know, they should be beating Villa at home. I said it, I'm still not over last season. I think it's one of the biggest collapses you've ever seen in football. 23 points from 19 games after being, you know, touted as... On Christmas Day, people were touting Leicester as title challengers and they took 23 points from 19 games. It's absolutely horrendous. I think Rodgers is under pressure if this continues. You know, if he continues the sequence of, you know, played 5, 1-2, lost 3, and he's starting to lose more than he's winning. Now I know it's a small sample size this season, but Brendan Rodgers to me he's not a manager to dig himself out of a hole. Let me put it that way to you. I think when he gets in a hole, he finds it very difficult to get out, and there's no amount of nights up in his kitchen with salt and pepper shakers and moving stuff around counters that can get you out of that. Like he famously said when he was at Liverpool. It just doesn't feel right for me, Rodgers at Leicester, but we'll have to wait and see. Joe, give us a prediction on this one.
Yeah, I can't see past Arsenal, to be fair. I'll go 2-1. 2-1 Arsenal.
Okay. Anthony.
I gotta say 1-1. You gotta say 1-1.
Anthony's not letting anybody win this weekend.
Loves a draw, doesn't he?
Just a load of draws and everyone feels okay about themselves, and that's what we need in these times. I'm going to go high scoring here. I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal. I think it'd be fairly high scoring. I think Arsenal are improving. I think they need to improve a bit more. I think Leicester have got they have the sort of players that can get at Arsenal. Powerful runners and I think they can get at Arsenal. Having said that, I think if Arsenal click going forward, and I think if Partey starts, they're much more solid in midfield. So I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal on that one. Last game of the weekend we want to look at is, of course, Liverpool versus Sheffield United. And, you know, I've talked about everybody else's form. You look at Liverpool's form and, you know, they've played 5, won 3, drew 1 and lost 1. And, you know, you look back to last weekend, you're thinking they should probably have 12 and 15, but they don't. But everything is kind of evening itself out, and it's not like a loss or a draw is killing you. You know, you drop 5 points in the first 5 games. Sometimes you can be 5 points off a runaway leader already. It's not the case at this time. But Liverpool go into this one, and you know we've seen the injury to Virgil van Dijk. There's rumour Alisson is back tomorrow. There's big rumours that Alisson is back tomorrow. There's also big rumours that Thiago Alcantara is fit for tomorrow and may make the bench. But we've seen during the week Liverpool went to Ajax, and I would describe it as a scrappy game in parts, but I thought Liverpool had gears to go up if they needed to and deserved the win, despite the fortunate aspect of the goal. I think they deserved the win, and especially with taking their front 3 off on 60 and putting 3 other lads on, and the 3 lads up front done really well. The centre-half stuff, it looks like to me like Fabinho's just in there, and he may even go just Fabinho and pick one of the other 2. He may do something like that. But Joe, I'm going to come to you first, because myself and Anthony, you know, like talking Liverpool, but I'm going to take a different aspect here. What do you make of this? Because you have played Sheffield United already, correct? Mm-hmm. You won at Bramall Lane, am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sheffield United, of course, great last season. Tailed off a little bit when everything went a bit haywire over the coronavirus. But have 1 point from 5 games this season. Can't seem to score goals. What have you made of them?
Yeah, it's mad because I have a few friends that are Sheffield United fans, and I didn't go along with that initial narrative that I knew would come out of second season syndrome. But the longer it goes on, I'm thinking, I don't actually, I don't. Maybe they are in a bit of trouble this season, which it does surprise me. But again, I think it comes to business. I mean, they just don't have a goal scorer. However, Brewster is now there. He's great talent. I think you guys know about him. I seen him in the Championship at Swansea. Scored like 9 goals since January. He was on fire. Whether or not he can do that in the Premiership against Liverpool, I'm not sure. I do fancy him to nick one this weekend, if I'm being totally honest, just up against Liverpool. Points.
I think it's a model to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just think at the minute, mate, they just can't seem to score, and you need to score goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, they're good, but then of course they lost. I think it's Jack O'Connell for the season, so it's not ideal at the back for them as well. So I don't think they've got a chance tomorrow, or whenever it is. Is it Sunday or is it? Oh, it's Saturday night, isn't
tomorrow
it?
Night, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see them getting anything at all, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's Anthony. When you look at it from Liverpool's point of view, if Alisson's back, it's huge. I'd like to see the exact same back four that he played during the week, because you need a consistency in that back four. When you take the best defender out of it, whatever you put in, it needs a consistency to build them some sort of rhythm as a back four, just to get to know each other, and like, it's not like they don't fucking know each other, but to get each other's traits in a defense. Fabinho knows the two lads behind him in most games. Now he's standing beside one of them, and the other fella's missing. So he has to get acquainted to what's going on around him. And I'd like to see that back four. But then you look at the rest of the side, and there's an array of people you could pick. Does Klopp look to nail Sheffield United tomorrow night, as if to say, listen, don't be worrying about Villa. The Van Dijk stuff's happened. We got to win in Europe, and now we're back, and we're going to nail these fuckers tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so, and I think he should. The Villa game was just a complete freak. That's, you may not ever see a game like that again in the Klopp. Well, let's hope we never see it again. Full stop. But this Liverpool are now in a really, really important period. Like, I don't like usually saying that, talking about defining periods or crunch periods, because every game is important. You're always just one bad result or two bad results away from a crisis. But I think it feels like this next, up until the next international break, which I think is 3 or 4 games away, it's a very important period, because they have to prove to themselves that they're still a really good side without Virgil van Dijk, and also to everybody else, because you don't want anyone else smelling blood, or the narrative in the media. They love this. If Liverpool start to wobble, it's such an obvious thing to just keep throwing at them, and that can get into teams' heads. It can get into players' heads. So, like, the fact that Fabinho played so well and they ground out the win in Amsterdam, it was actually the perfect win in a lot of ways. It was a bit scrappy. It wasn't perfect, but it was a clean sheet, and they dug in, and I think they deserved it as well. Fabinho was brilliant. I agree that I think he will be. I think he should be a mainstay there, because when you talk about Van Dijk, it's not just about what you lose defensively. It's actually what he does in terms of building your attacks, and the range of passing that Fabinho has. I think he's the closest that you're gonna get for somebody in that position that can spray the ball out and do that job. But to answer your question, yeah, I think he will go for it. I think he will go for it, and he'll tell them, listen, we might see Jota come in tomorrow night, I think, to start. I think he deserves a chance. I thought he was brilliant when he came off the bench. And just go and show everyone how good you are. Lay down the marker. If Liverpool can get 4 wins, I think they've 3 league games, and they have Midtjylland next in the Champions League. And then everyone can pause for a little bit of a breather and see where we are. It's a massive period for them. But I think, like, any chance they can get to make a statement. They're playing a team that's got 1 point from their first 5 games, struggling for goals, struggling for confidence. It's a chance to just lay down a bit of a marker, to put everything that happened in the derby, even in the Villa game, which is still kind of lingering a bit, put all that in the rearview mirror, because Van Dijk isn't coming back this season. Now, we have to all get over that now. That's the way it is. We plough on. And I think that started on Wednesday night, and tomorrow night is the chance to really extend that now and say, okay, this is what we are, this is what we have. We're still a very, very good side. We're still capable of winning the league without Van Dijk, which I think Liverpool are. There was so much doom and gloom around losing them, but I think if you step back and look at it, are they capable of winning the league without them? I think we are. So yeah, I expect Liverpool to really try and make a statement tomorrow night, and to go at them, and to get I think we'll win pretty comfortably.
Okay. You've just mentioned something there about Jota, and there's rumour going around today that actually Jota, Mane, Salah, and Bobby Firmino will start tomorrow. So I don't know if that's if that's true. It looks like it could be a system change, and he might go like Henderson and Wijnaldum too deep, and let the lads go at it. Then we'll have to wait and see. For me, I want to see a win. I want to see a convincing win, and I want to see a win that's convincing on the scoreline. But I also want to see it where nobody can go, oh, but look what he done here, and this was shaky and that was shaky. Now with ADRIAN around, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But if we can come out of this game with a 3-0 win, dominating, and there's no talk of ADRIAN and look what he done here and look what he done there. The same around the centre half partnership. If you can get THIAGO on the pitch for minutes, if Jota gets minutes, Minamino, whoever it might be, I think that's the perfect scenario for Liverpool. If they were to win an edgy 2-1, people will still be throwing stuff at them. Liverpool need to bring back this air of fear around them, and the only way you can do that is to go out and just, in my opinion, what Liverpool need to do is be really angry about what's happened so far this season and take it into every game from here till May or wherever the season ends, because the chances are they could stop this at any stage as well. I have one more book to give away, so I don't even know how to give this away. I really don't, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my favourite goal from 2019-20, and I have it in my head, and the first one to guess it gets the book. How does that sound? It's the easiest way to do it. Give me a prediction on this game, please, Joe.
3-0. 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay, 3-0. And Anthony?
I will also say 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay. I'm going to go with 4-0 to Liverpool. I think this is one where Sheffield United could, although they've been beaten in tight games and being maybe a little bit unlucky, I think this might be one that's just a little bit out of their scope for looking for points. But stranger things have happened, lads. I always make you pick 3 possible scorers from the weekend to score any time. So, what do you think? Joe, give me 3 scorers for the weekend, please.
Jimenez, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Ryan Brewster.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Even though I've just said 3-0, which is
I know, backward. That's mad, yeah.
but no, we'll change that 3-1. Brewster, yeah, because I've just got a feeling Brewster. Yeah, I will go.
Okay, no problem. There's a few guesses coming in there. Nobody's getting even close to this. So, Anthony, 3 scorers for the weekend.
I'll say Son, Bruno Fernandes, and Mane.
Okay, 3 good shouts, especially when Fernandes gets at least one chance to score from 12 yards with nobody around him. I'm going to go with Raheem Sterling, Mo Salah, and I'm going to go with the third one's a killer. I'm going to go Danny Ings. Yeah, I am. I'm going to go Danny Ings. Lads, it's been a very good show. Nobody's getting close to this goal. At all. So we're not giving away the book. We do it on Sunday, will we? We do it on Sunday. We think of a proper way of doing it. But look, it's been a really, really, really good show. I've enjoyed it. Getting different people's views on teams that you don't watch every week, or teams that you pay less attention to than Liverpool or Leeds, is really interesting. The chat has been amazing tonight. There's loads of people in there. I hope you've all hit the like button. I hope you're all sharing at the moment, and I hope you're all subscribed. Sunday, the Fatback 4. We'll be back. We'll be looking back at the Liverpool game Saturday night. But we will be live on Instagram with the team news as soon as it comes out tomorrow evening, and straight after the game with match reactions. So whoever's on that, go and join them on Instagram. Get involved in the chat and do stuff like that. Loads of shows coming for you next week as well. Anthony, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks a million, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Gav. Yeah, good to see you.
Stuff. And Joe, you go off now and have a beer and relax. And I know you're going to go and watch that match again. I know what you're
I will do, you know.
Yeah. But listen, you sit back, 3 points in the bag. Enjoy the weekend, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Good stuff. That's been the Friday forecast from the LFC Daytrippers. Thanks a million for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, putting your comments in, all that sort of stuff. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy your weekend. Over and out.